you have a new phenomenon in our community, which is all of these people who have never been trained in grammar, in rhetoric, in logic, in the traditional madrasa studies. But they've gone to schools. So they went to public schools in Egypt or in Iraq or in Syria they have a relatively reasonable knowledge of Arabic. They can read it fairly well. And then they begin to self-study. And they become autodidacts. And so they read the Quran and the Hadith. Now, one of the things about Hadith tradition, both Quran and Hadith, it was prohibited traditionally to take Quran and Hadith from books. Right? لا تأخذ القرآن من مصحفي ولا تأخذ الحديث من صحفي. That was a qaida amongst the ulama. Don't take the Quran from the mushaf and don't take knowledge from sahafi. Sahafi is the one who learned from books. The reason for that is because they're too difficult. There's too many possibilities for error, even in the hadith. One example, in the hadith of the moon sighting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sumu li ru'yatihi wa aftiru li ru'yatihi." Fast in sighting it, and then he said, "Wa in ghumma alaykum." That's one riwayah. In ghubiya alaykum, that's another riwayah. In ghumiya alaykum, that's another riwayah. In ughmiya alaykum, that's another riwayah. And in umiya alaykum. All those are riwayat. And they all have different meanings. And then faqduru lahu, it says faqduru lahu with a dhamma, faqduru lahu. But there's another riwayah, faqdiru lahu with a kasra. And they have different meanings. فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ قَدَرَ يَقْدُرُوا and قَدِرَ يَقْدِرُوا قَدَرَ يَقْدِرُوا. So this is sarf. And by changing just the dhamma, you change the meaning from dhamma to kasra, you change the meaning of qadr. Now this takes a long time to learn. Just to learn the Arabic takes a long time. But then to learn the hadith, to listen to the muhaddith, and to learn, these take a long time. And this is why knowledge is difficult. It's not an easy thing. Knowledge is difficult. And so you have all of these people now that are out there and coming up with very different conclusions that the traditional people came up with. Let me give you one example. In the burning of the Jordanian, it was said that this was qisas, right? Do people know that? Did anybody follow that story? The burning of the, right? They said it was qisas, right? Well, in Sharia, you don't apply qisas in war. There's no qisas in war. There's no qisas in fitna. If a fitna happens and Muslims fight each other, there's no qisas. Because if you have qisas, it's just going to continue. It will never end. So you just forgive once it's all over. So that's the first problem. Nobody in the history of Islam said there's qisas in war. Second problem, the hudud aren't implemented during war. Qisas is part of hudud. Then, another problem, burning. The Prophet ﷺ ordered in a hadith to burn. أمرتكم أن تحرقوهم فلا تحرقوهم فلا يعذب بالنار إلا رب النار. I told you to burn these people, don't burn them, because nobody can punish with fire except the Lord of fire. So now that hadith, some of the ulama took that hadith, other ones didn't take it, because nasikh and mansukh is a real problem in the hadith tradition. So some of them did not take that, because what they took was عَاقِبُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا عُقِبْتُمْ بِهِ, punish people according to the way that they punished. Like in the Maliki tradition, in the Mukhtasar, it says, مَنْ قَتَلَ قُتِلَ بِمَا قَتَلَ وَلَوْ نَارًا. Whoever kills somebody, he's killed with what he was killed, even if it was fire. There's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, a Jewish man, threw a woman off and her head was smashed on a rock. He stole from her jewelry, and the Prophet ﷺ, according to the tradition, said his head was smashed with a rock. And this is what's called lex talionis. It's the Jewish tradition of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. It's right out of the Old Testament. But then the Prophet ﷺ, as his religion evolve, because it did evolve. The Prophet ﷺ was part of a process. He had legal rulings that later were changed. And this is to show that situations change rulings. This is the human condition. You can't just fix rulings and with statute law and think that you can apply that until the Day of Judgment. There are certain things that are thawabit in Islam, fixed, and there are other things that are mutaghayyirat. This is the usuli prerogative to work out what's fixed and what changes. It's a very sophisticated tradition, which is why we need usuli scholars, and they're actually considered the generals. According to Imam Qushayri, they're the generals of this ummah, because they're the ones that are able to command the troops. Not the fuqaha. The fuqaha can give you an opinion, but the usuli is the one that deals with new issues. And this is very important. Fatwa comes from fatiya, yafta, to be young. It's new, fresh, right? So the root of fatwa is freshness. Also from it comes futuwa. What is futuwa? Chivalry. It defends the community. So the fatwa is a defense mechanism of the community to protect it from harm. So this was very, very important. And this is one of the crises that we find ourselves in. Now the Prophet ﷺ said, أَعَفُّ النَّاسِ قِطْرَةً أَهْلُ الْإِيمَانِ. The people that are most merciful, this is what Imam al-Munawi says it means. The people that are most merciful in their killing are the people of Iman. Because the Prophet said, إِذَا قَتَلْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الْقِتْلَةِ. If you have to kill, do it well. إِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذِّبْحَ. If you're going to sacrifice an animal, do it well. In other words, don't cause the animal pain. Sharpen the knife. In the sunnah, you give the animal water. You don't kill it in front of other animals. The Prophet saw a man sacrificing an animal in front of another animal. He said, are you going to kill it twice? Because the other one's seeing it and you know, it's his friend. Right? You know, this is rahmah. But what does Imam al-Munawi say? He says, look at the way the kuffar kill. Right? He said they kill, they torture, they do all this. This wasn't from Islam. The Prophet was a mercy, and he came as a mercy. And this is why the ulama, the majority of the ulama said, in qisas and in these things, you just kill them. Even in the riwayah al-Bukhari of Imam Ali, there's another riwayah that says he killed them first and then burnt them. So this idea of burning people, لا يعذب بالنار إلا رب النار. Despite the fact that there are riwayat, this is the position, and this is why the Ottomans never burnt people as a punishment. You know, the Muslims didn't do this. And even in the Quran, when it says when you meet the enemies, strike the necks, فَضَرْبُ الرِّقَابِ, right? Look at the tafsirs. They say this is the most merciful way to kill a person. If you have to kill them, be merciful. Don't cut their arm off first. Go right for the death blow. Because it's the most merciful way to kill. That's what they say in the books. That even in jihad, you're supposed to be merciful to people. So this whole idea of cruelty, it has nothing to do with Islam. And Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah said, if you see cruelty, know that it's not from this religion. Because the religion is rahmah. Even in killing, there's rahmah. And so Abdurrahman, Imam al-Munawi says about that hadith, أَعَفُ النَّاسِ قِتْرَةً أَهْلُ الْإِيمَانِ. The people that are most, you know, iffa is like chastity, it's like aversion to something, you know, being, you know, a'affahu, like if you don't like something, you know, the people that are most averse to killing are the people of faith. Because they see they see the Creator in the creature. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. They see that you are a sign of God. Whether you're Jewish or Buddhist or Hindu, you're a creature, you are made by God, and therefore the sign of God is in you. And so they're loath to do anything. And that's why the Prophet said, لَا تَتَمَنَّوْا لِقَاءَ الْعَدُوِ. Don't desire to meet an enemy. Don't desire it. There's a sickness in this desire to kill people. So